I meant it. Good morning. It is Friday. It's May. It's 100 degrees in Southern California. It was 62 days ago. I'm
It's
Jill.
I'm Deb, and it's delightfully moderate weather here.
Oh, how nice for you. I'm glad. I really am. But
I
wow.
am too. I
Yeah,
really am. And I had a lovely trip. Thank you for covering for me, Jill.
I'm so glad you got to go see everyone at AATH.
I did. And it was just lovely in so many respects and entertaining and a lot of life. And
It
that's what
fills
felt
it
good.
fills the void. It fills the vessel,
It
right?
does. It
Mm-hmm.
does. Oh my goodness. And I'm thinking about yours in my presentation. Um, oh, you bet. I've been shopping.
Oh,
I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Yeah, yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, and for those of you who may be interested, you can go to UW La Crosse and look for the International Death, Grief, and Bereavement. Did I say that right?
Right.
Yeah. Um, Conference coming up. It starts June 1st and goes through June 4th. And
And
yeah,
it's amazing.
it really is. You're in a very comfortable place to talk about several things and ask questions you might not feel comfortable asking other places. And you can laugh about things you're not supposed to talk about. And we talk about them all. And if you ever wonder if you're weird for thinking about death or thinking about people's demise all the time and all these kinds of things, you are not weird. You are one of the normal ones at the conference. So it's,
It's where we get to share the sense of humor that is shared
yes,
by those who do grief, loss, end of life. It's
yes,
it's where we welcome people who are the working professionals, the people who are experiencing the loss, the people who write the books, the people who do the research. It's all of
absolutely.
that all at once. And nobody is considered any more important or any more deserving to be listened to than anyone else, which is one of the
Absolutely.
best things about La Crosse.
Right. It's everybody's equal. That's the best way to say it. I remember, what was her name? Joy Hollander?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it was my first time there. And she said, I was telling a funny story about something, and she said, "Oh, you have to tell that to everybody." And it's like a priest and a Jew joke. And another person uh, raised their hand, said, "Well, I'm a priest." I said, "Let me hug you." So it was just really comforting and welcoming. And I think if you're going to be talking about death, dying, and bereavement, someone doesn't even have to reach out and touch you. Their presence, people know how to be present. And that's what's important. So
They do.
please, if you can, look it up. It's never too late to show up, and
The
I
link is
think you'll
actually
love
up
it.
in the chat today,
Yeah,
and the chat will go on when we post this to the Facebook Humor, Grace, and Grief, and so you will find it there, and it'll be in all of our podcast links. It's just an amazing place to be.
exactly, exactly. So, what besides a new pope?
I was going to say,
Uh,
talking about priests. right?
Speaking
Speaking
of,
of, and we have a Pope who's not a Cardinals fan, but is a White Sox fan and is not a Cubbies fan, whose nun aunts were not that they were not aunts. His nun aunts were Cubbies fans, and mom was a Cardinals fan. We got a new guy, and we're
we
not
got,
Catholic, but we got a new guy.
you know, I loved the playful memes because he's from Chicago,
Yes,
and there is a SNL. There's Da Bears. Well, instead of going around the table and saying Da Bears, they said Da Pope, and and you know, it's sort of like I'm not even Catholic, but I support the enthusiasm because he came from this country and he came from my state and he came from my birthplace, and it's just probably one of the funnier ones is the priest will decree that putting ketchup on your hot dog is a mortal sin. And so I don't know if it's a mortal sin or what sin it is, but certainly,
it's a big one.
It's a big one.
And this has been an event for lots of people. I walked into my office. I got text messages from my girlfriend's group. There's one Catholic in the group. I got text messages from one of our office staff. It's happening. I walked in and both our receptionists were like, "We have one." And nobody knew who it was yet. It was a kind of a universal experience shared literally around the world. But my favorite part was the seagulls. I really like the
saw that.
seagulls.
I'm like, I wasn't quite understanding it, but is there a sports team called the Seagulls?
I don't know, but there were seagulls on the roof of the Vatican. And
Oh,
when they
that's
put
why
the
we
white
don't have
smoke out,
cardinals. We have seagulls.
seagulls, right? Because when they put the smoke out, it was the seagulls sitting there.
That's
And they
great.
looked completely offended and had to move like 5 feet from their perch.
You know what else I really appreciate? I haven't felt this way in a long time, a very long time, where I felt proud of something that came from this country. I gotta tell you, that was the key thing. The memes were lighthearted. None of the memes were mean.
For at least an hour.
So far.
There have been the one side has had some moments already, but I
Yeah,
blocked them all.
yeah, yeah. And it was a type of innocent nationalism.
It was a hopefulness moment.
Yes.
When
And
I walked in last night, I heard it just felt like hope.
yes.
There's hope. And there's someone willing to talk about truth to power and align with those who are the ones who are the least among us, and all the things that truly any faith organization should be focused on.
Yeah. And that's, almost like a power and an innocence. I almost felt like, I never minded saying the Pledge of Allegiance when we were growing up. In second grade, and you feel proud of this country, and that's
kind
it.
of
Just
that,
felt good.
That's
Say
a
again.
loss. That is a current loss for many of us right now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, well said. And so when you have that glimmer of reprieve from those sad feelings, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like you said, faith and hope can step right in.
Yeah.
And you don't
Mhm.
realize that you were missing that much faith and hope. And I'll give you another example, because I really want to talk about at AATH. We really had a lot of people from different countries, and a large contingency from Japan, which was very fun
Yeah.
because I got to hang with a lot of the women. So that's number one. But number two, there was I posted the class on Facebook. It had to do with envisioning a peaceful society.
What a
And
concept.
yeah, and I just love the meditation. It was led by Stephanie Steiner Knox, and she is one of the professors in Costa Rica at this Peace University. The meditation had sort of was, what did it look like? And there were probably 50 people in the room, and we broke into groups. Excuse me. Yeah. And so she took us through this meditation where we were walking through a door of our choice into 50 years in the future. And what did that look like? What did that feel like? What did that smell like? What did you hear? And we really gave ourselves over to that meditation. And then we talked about different things. And at the very end, a good friend, colleague in humor and laughter, and she's a minister at a church, I forget where, maybe Florida. And she said, how did it feel leaving that place? That's what the leader said. And my friend talked about the sadness. And then I raised my hand to say, I understand. I feel that also.
Yeah.
It got me thinking how the mind has so much power that we stepped into an imaginary peace-filled world. Granted, the site I first saw was something out of the Jetsons from 50 years ago, right? I totally admit that. That was, and I didn't hear anything because all the cars were silent. But, it was such a beautiful meditation that it was sad to leave, even though I know, I'm going to use this term realistically, I can step back in there at any time. But to have that shared experience
Right.
of grief with someone else, I think that needs to be noted, that shared experience of imagined peace. Wow, what a concept. And the people in my group felt that, because a lot of people, just like International Grief, Death, and Bereavement Conference, many people at Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor are very present for you
Mm-hmm.
because they know how it feels not to laugh
And not to be heard.
and not to be heard. And
Mm-hmm.
so we joined in this conversation, and group sadness was a very, I felt very interesting phenomena that I wanted to come back to with you.
And I think that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I would love your comments.
That group sadness going into lacrosse is something that's why people bond with Disney movies, because they share the loss at the beginning of the movie when whatever figure dies. They share that loss, and then at the end they share the hope for the life that the characters are now going to carry with them. There's so much shared loss, and you don't really realize it sitting in a movie theater. And as a small child, you don't realize that's what's happening. But as an adult, you look back and realize that was what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Is that where you were
Yes.
thinking we would go?
Well, no, I had no attachment to which way it would go ever with us, Jill.
Mhm.
So, but I think about, when I came back, I was watching, catching up on some shows with Daryl. And one of them on 911, one of the lead characters dies. And by this time, I'm hopeful I'm not doing any spoilers because it's been 3 weeks or 2 weeks. It's Captain Bobby Nash. And it was interesting how they showed that his wife was really angry at the survivor of what had happened. It
Mhm.
was interesting how the network took us through so many emotions of isolation, of thinking how people just move on and you're the only one left with feelings. It
Mhm.
takes us through confusion.
Mhm.
It takes us through, um, in an hour in this particular show, a lot of love and how support can just saying, I'm with you, just saying, I'm not choosing sides. I love you both. Just saying, having a moment of laughter in order to let the tears fall. And
Mhm.
there's no timeline, on TV. Of course, they speed everything up. I mean, can you imagine in TV time, let's say 16 or 12 episodes is a year, right? However, they jump ahead. And the person still isn't done grieving.
Right.
That would be real. And I thought about your book, Jill, where it's The Rebellious Widow and the title, and how you can say, it's okay. You want to start dating after 4 months? And you've really been grieving for 2 years now, only the person wasn't dead.
Right.
I dreamt something like this. I can tell you off camera, but I mean, you were so supportive that way.
And I'm
And
equally supportive of those who want to be Betty White and don't ever
yes,
want to have a concept of it again. And it's entirely at the speed and the need and the how someone wants to handle their grief,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
A friend of a
And
friend just reached the 1-year anniversary today of the loss of her spouse. and posted about it. That's the only reason I'm sharing it. And part of what she said was, I promise not to be like a Debbie Downer, something like that, and post a lot. And I'm like, yeah, go right ahead. You're allowed to. Poor, pitiful me moments are completely allowable at any time. But also, you're allowed to remember and to smile and to laugh. And she said, I really found out who my friends were and I saw the others exit. I'm like, yep, that's the other
Yep.
part of it.
Yep,
Mhm.
that is the other part. And not just for the loss of a spouse.
For all
I think
losses.
Mother's Day is coming up. So
We
let's
need
talk
to go
about,
there.
we have to go there. We go there every year. The women that never had a child but wanted one and have buried that dream, the ones that may have two living biological children and they had a miscarriage along the way, or one of their children is dead, or estranged, or whatever. And
The Mark Glasswell just commented that his mom just passed in February, so this will be the first Mother's Day
oh,
without his mom. And Mark, our thoughts and our hearts are with you.
they
We get
are.
it.
And this, the mom that posted about our her daughter and I were friends, and the mom
Mhm.
that posted, and the mom and I are friends. She posted about Mother's Day, you know, I'll try to smile behind the tears, and I wrote back, a third option is pulling the blanket over your head and not coming out till the next day.
Blanket forts are perfectly acceptable.
Love them.
If there's a day that other people have stressed importance of that you just can't play this year, if Mark needs to just go to wherever the open spaces are or the small closed spaces are. The problem with Mother's Day in particular is that you can't get away from it. It's every flipping where. And if you are a parent and you still have living children, then those children might have a need to mark Mother's Day for you. Or if they have children, you need to mark Mother's Day for them. And
Right.
yet, if you've lost your mom, then you're about for you, even if you and your spouse have children. There's so many layers of relationship. And then there are
Absolutely.
those who really do, their pets are their little ones. And
Yes.
we've had a lot of pet losses in the last couple of weeks in the circles I inhabit, right? So
Mhm.
there's so many places that Mother's Day triggers loss, and yet I was kind of jazzed about the Pope. I completely forgot Mother's Day was coming when I walked into the market, and I couldn't get into the market because there were so many banks of flowers. Like, not one, not two. There were at least 7 new aisles created with just flowers and balloons, and you couldn't get into the store without walking through my poker mouth came out and said, wow, look at the guilt trip aisles. What are we doing here?
Very
Because
good.
every bouquet is at least $25 right now, and it was $10 last week.
You know, I went to Aldi yesterday because I had to buy up food because I hadn't in 3 weeks. And I had decided already on my way there that I wanted to get flowers for myself and for my neighbor Donna. And, you know, our process through motherhood over the years, we have shared our ups and our downs, and our ups and downs of grandmotherhood, and our ups and downs of wifehood. I will also say she is my naked snow angel partner also. And
Everyone needs a best next door neighbor.
we really are. And do you know, religiously we are opposites. Politically we are opposites, but we always know where our hearts are, because that comes first. So with that said, I said, can I come over for a minute? She goes, is everything okay? And I said, yeah. So I went over and I brought her these flowers. And because I know, I cut them, I put a bow on them, I put them in a jar, because I also know handing someone flowers is such a great gesture and I love it all the time. But I also know then you need to get a vase, and then you need to cut them, and then you need to add sugar or whatever chemicals they give you, whatever. And then because she has cats, where is she going to put them? And I thought that's the only question she needs to answer. Like I have a safe space, she does. So, and then we talked for, an hour. And it's more importantly, she realized I was recognizing her travels through motherhood, not celebrating a day. And I just wanted to honor that. I want to honor the wisdom gained from the losses of women, the losses that all women face, whether it's with child, without child, whether it's just honor the path of motherhood and non-motherhood. Because non-moms are beautiful nurturer also, non-biological moms. Let's put it that way. Yes.
Yeah, there's so many, and the other problem with Mother's Day is there's so many people who have a need to make it about their experience of motherhood instead of encompassing all the losses that we're talking about today. And for folks like Mark, to be able to remember mom, but sometimes we have moms too who shouldn't have been moms. And so there's that loss of having a mom that was not supposed to be a mom and let us down, or the mom who died before we could really experience the relationship with mom. There's so many layers of this. Instead of just the 7 banks of gilt flowers and balloons in the grocery store, because they want us to buy all the flowers here, and they hawk flowers outside the cemetery. It is 100 freaking degrees outside. You put those flowers out in the cemetery, and in 1 hour, right?
Yes.
So that it's another loss, right? And we got people who are having financial losses right now and can't afford all the crazy stuff that's getting hawked at them for Mother's Day.
And like you said, the prices would have rose for Mother's Day anyway, but they're also rising because of all the tariffs.
Right. And because stores can just demand more money anyway. That's just who they are. Sorry.
Hi, Zorro.
Here's Zorro. I want to tell you, there was a funny bit on Jimmy Kimmel last night. His wife came out and he said she has something to say about Mother's Day and presents for Mother's Day. And I have tried to find it on YouTube and have been unsuccessful so far. But you need to go looking for it, because she came out and she said, Mother's Day, we don't need the flowers. We don't need all the expensive stuff. Let me show you what we need. And she said, here is so-and-so who's on our crew. And here's the lovely picture of him with his children that his wife took. And here's the picture he took of her. And, she's behind a giant flower and you can't see her. And here's so-and-so from our crew. And first day of school with the kids. And there he is. He's got the kids. They're looking cute. And then there's the picture he took. And it's a selfie and he's cut her head off. Over and over and over again. She said, the one thing about being a mom, no matter what kind of mom, is that the moms take the pictures and nobody else does.
That's right.
And then after we're dead, everyone wants to know why mom's not in the pictures.
How do you think that picture got there?
Right. So for Mother's Day, her suggestion was take some good pictures of the moms with the families, whoever the family is, whether it's Zorro or grandkids or kids, or at the cemetery with the headstone for your mom or your kid, or however it is that you do Mother's Day. Take the picture and get a good one of the mom, because that's really all we want is the memories.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I feel that. And if you happen to go out for Mother's Day and you see a mom at a table and she's taking the picture, offer to take the picture for her.
Please.
I did that a lot on my on my trip. At a lot of places I said, hey, how about I take all of your picture? And you know what I did? I don't know where I got this idea, probably something off of Facebook. Before I would snap their picture, I'd go like this, and it was like always facing toward me, right? And I went, and then I turn it around and take their picture. They're not going to know who I am.
Right. Right. Give them the pictures, folks. Take the pictures. You don't have to spend $1 million. You don't have to fall for the guilt trips.
Right.
For all of our people who are small business people who have things for Mother's Day, I hope it's wonderful for you. But please, folks, don't feel like you have to put yourself in a bad spot. Your mom knows. And if your mom doesn't, there's a reason. And take care of you this weekend too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Well, we will be back next week. We have a wonderful guest in 2 weeks. Do we have one next week also?
I am working on it. I met with my new friend from Laughlin, and we had a great conversation, and I think she will be amazing. In fact, part of the conversation went, so who's your mom? And I said, Margaret. And she was talking to her mom who has died. And she said, which Margaret? She said, Jill's mom, Margaret. Oh, she's here. And I said, I just want to know why it was that she said when she was dying, she didn't say goodbye to me, when she said goodbye to my siblings. And I said, do I need to be worried? And she waited for a minute. She said, your mom said to tell you you've got traveling to do because you lost travel while she was sick. And so it's time for you to do the traveling, and then she'll see you later. So,
wow.
Right. So we had a good conversation. It was awesome. Great. Let me just honor that Mark just said it's the guilt that I feel because I feel relieved. My mom should not have been one. Mark, if we can absolve you in some way, or Zorro can. If you had a mom who shouldn't have been a mom, remember her as she was. Know that at some point decided she wanted you but didn't know what to do or how to do it. Likely she didn't have the world's best childhood either. That does not absolve her of guilt, but it should absolve you of yours.
Absolutely. Is that Mark Laswell? Yeah. Mark, feel free to reach out to me and I can talk with you more. You are being perfectly normal. Let me say that, and Jill will agree with me. I know that this is a real common feeling. So you're not alone.
My dad used to say my mom's parents were the two people who should never have had children. And that is a universal experience. with each of my aunts, and it was with my uncle. Everyone agreed. They were all grateful for what they could do for them, but they all said they were just not meant to be kids,
Yeah.
parents and children. And they threw all the kids were gone by 14.
Right.
It was what they did. So you don't have to honor a mom as being deserving of pink roses and happy thoughts if that's not who she was.
That's absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So
That
keep
so
hold of that and talk to Deb.
yes,
Let
please,
the guilt
Mark, reach
go.
out to me. I'll reach out to you.
Okay. We'll
All
see
right.
everybody next week. If I can get my new friend on, I will. If not, she did say she would do she doesn't call them readings, but an experience while we
Yes.
are live for you or me or both or whatever. So that
Awesome.
should be good for everybody. All right. We
That'd
will
be
see
great.
everybody next week. Have a good weekend, whatever you make of it. Those of us here in the heat belt, please make sure you hydrate and stay in the shade. Those of you in Riverside, please join me at Pride tomorrow at White Park. Yes, it's going to be hot. I'm going to be there, so you have to too. And the rest of everyone else, will see you back next week.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.